In watercolor, the white of your paper is the white in watercolor, and you paint around the whites, like in these sailboats. I actually used a little hack that is really cool. This is a eye pencil, white eye pencil, and it is really waxy. So I used it before I put any paint on this. I used it on the sails so that the sails of the boats would stay really light because I really wanted them to pop out. And so you can use little tricks like that, like masking. I have a whole free video on masking. Be sure to check out the comments below where I will link a playlist of all my best videos, and one of them is about masking. I am so excited to bring to you part 4 of a 4-part series, and I have definitely saved the best for last. In fact, a lot of the footage that I'm going to share with you today, it went viral on Facebook when I made a short out of part of what I'm going to share with you today. So I'm really excited. And we're going to talk about pulling everything together that we've already talked about. In part 1, we talked about supplies, brushes, paper, paint. In part 2, we talked about the importance of values. Lots of beginners start out thinking color is the most important thing, but actually it's the values that do all the hard work in a painting, and color steals the glory. So we did a deep dive into how to get the correct values in the second part of this series. In the third part of this series, we talked about all kinds of different ways to make marks with brushes. And we also talked about fixing techniques. And so in today's session, we're going to pull everything together and talk about how a painting unfolds. Like you go from large shape to small shape. What do you do when you get to the ugly stage? What is the ugly stage? How do you get out of the ugly stage? And we're going to pull it all together about how to make a successful painting. But first, for those of you who are new here, my name is Rachel Parker Varner, and I like to teach not just the how, but the why of watercolor so you move along your painting journey a lot faster. At the end of this video, I will talk about my paid offerings and also how you can get more in-depth critiques. But for now, before we get started, let me mention one more thing, and it's probably the best thing I offer you all, and it's access to my communities for free. My communities are full of like-minded people, and some are really advanced, amazing artists that give such good advice. I learned so much from so many of my members, all the way down to super beginners. And you can share your work on my 3 free communities and get advice and feedback if you ask for it. If you don't ask for it, we'll just be supportive, and we are supportive and wonderful. There are 3 different places that you can upload your photos and read my comments. I was just looking at some of my online communities the other day, and I had a light bulb moment that I need to tell you guys how rich it is to go read the comments on all the posts in my communities. You will learn so much just in the comment section under each painting that my members upload. We all learn so much from each other. It's very enriching. And so my 3 communities are these. One is Patreon that you can join for free. And that's kind of like joining my mailing list. Will you learn about my new tutorials, new aha moments, whenever I post a new free video, whenever I'm about to go live, etc., etc., you will get an email when you join my Patreon for free, if you turn on those notifications. And when you join my Patreon for free, you can also upload your paintings in my chat section and get feedback, even if you're a free member. Also on my Facebook group, you can join for free and upload your photos there. If you're on Facebook, you might enjoy that. The third place is new, and it's really exciting. It's right here on YouTube. You've got to be in the app, so it's not on desktop. It's when you're on a smart device in the app. You go to my community tab, and you can upload your paintings there. So I check there every so often, and I comment on every single picture people upload to Facebook, Patreon, and YouTube. So it's a great way to stay in closer touch with me. And I love it. It's so fun to be a part of this amazing community of watercolor artists. And even if you're not a watercolor artist, like my mom is a colored pencil artist, we show each other our work all the time. And it doesn't matter what medium you use. Good design is good design no matter what medium you use. So come and join the fun. Be sure to stay tuned to the end, and I will explain my paid offerings. All right, let's get started. Let's talk about how to create a beautiful painting. Let's pull all this information together. Here we go. when you start a painting, you paint around your lights. And then next you paint your lightest colors, your lightest values. You let all that dry, then paint your mediums, let it all dry. Then paint your darks, let it all dry. Now that's a very generalized way of painting, but if you follow that series of steps for most painting subjects, you will be on the path to righteousness. The other thing, when you're starting out a painting, you start with the biggest shapes. Like you can go watch some of these master watercolor painters that paint portraits, and they paint the whole face orange, even the whites of the eye, they paint the whole shape. And they've learned to paint the big shapes first. What are the big shapes in a portrait, for example? This whole noggin right here would be one shape because it's all the same value. So they paint that whole thing. And then as the painting unfolds, you paint smaller and smaller details. So start with your big shapes, and a well-planned, well-composed painting will have some big shapes, some small shapes, and some medium shapes in a nice balance to each other. So you paint from light to dark, you paint from big shapes down to smaller shapes, down to the jewelry, and a painting goes through several stages. And if you don't know that when you're starting painting, you might get really frustrated. So let's talk about that roadmap. And that is, the first few washes are beautiful. They're so delicate and clean looking. Then you get some medium values in, and then all of a sudden your painting starts to look really ugly. It's called the ugly stage. I will link below a whole video that I made about the ugly stage. Don't freak out. And this is when beginners think they're about to overwork their painting. They think that they've failed. Their painting is ugly. How could it be ugly? Most paintings go through the ugly stage. But if you learn the tricks to pull a painting out of the ugly stage, then you will gain a lot of success and a lot of confidence. And the basic thing that most paintings need to pull them out of the ugly stage is two things. Usually in watercolor anyway, they need darks and they need a few, not too many, details. So that's jewelry. I'll put a whole video about what is jewelry. It's the final little small details you put to really pull a painting together. Like this necklace is pulling this outfit together. But if I had on a bunch of jewelry, if I put too much jewelry, it would look ugly. If I didn't have any jewelry, it would look boring. So you need some jewelry. So be sure to check out that video that I will link in the comments. Another thing that will pull your painting out of the ugly stage is to go ahead and put those super darks in. Usually you don't want too many darks, but you want to put a few well-chosen pops of dark into your painting to really make it pull together and have some area of focus. For example, in these paintings of the sailboats, this dark, if I didn't have this dark landmass behind the sailboats, they wouldn't show up and it would not have any visual aesthetic interest to it. It wouldn't have any contrast. It would be a boring painting without those dark hills in the background. So darks can really add some pop to your painting if they are planned nicely. Just notice that these darks are up against the light water and these light boats, and that makes for a really strong composition. So designing your values before you even get started can really help you help set you up for success. And another thing that I'm learning that's really helping me, and I think a lot of beginner artists don't realize this, but the power of studies, like this is a work in progress, but it's already giving me some excitement of creating a bigger painting based on this. So if you do some smaller studies, that's why these postcards are so that I've been doing a postcard project with my Facebook group. So be sure to come check that out. But if you do these smaller postcards, they're manageable. They don't take too much time. They're not too overwhelming. You can learn just as much, if not more, from a painting like this than a huge painting. Because if you try to do a big, fancy, huge painting, you're going to get overwhelmed if you're a beginner. And you're going to think you have no talent, when if you just bite off smaller chunks of paintings like these little postcards, do little studies and do several different studies with several different value designs, preferably. One that will get you your miles on the brush, because with watercolor especially you need miles on the brush. And the more you paint a single thing, like paint this butterfly, that's why I painted these. That's another reason why I painted I will probably do a big painting of these. That's why I painted this not once, not twice. I will probably paint it again as a larger painting, because every time you paint a painting of the same subject, you learn something and you improve next time. Like this is the second time. And this one I think came out better. Even though these colors are more beautiful, this is a more powerful painting. As has been shown by when I did a reel, most people preferred this painting over this painting, even though this one has more beautiful colors. This one just has better design in the values, and it's the crowd favorite, believe it or not. So doing studies, painting something over and over, doing smaller paintings that aren't overwhelming is a really good place to start for beginners. So I highly encourage you to do that if you're a beginner. Just do smaller paintings so you don't get overwhelmed, because when you get tired, you're going to get frustrated. And the best way to learn, research has shown, is when you're having fun, when you're in a curious mindset, and you are not worried about perfection and making something beautiful. So beginners, if you're just starting out, don't worry about making a beautiful painting. Worry about splashing around, having fun, being curious, asking questions. How do I get this lighter? How do I get it darker? And as you mature as an artist, you will get more and more creative. You will get more and more curious and try more and more things. And that is what's going to help you move along your own artistic journey and develop your own style. So it's going to unfold naturally if you just allow yourself to have fun. The rest will work itself out. So that is a basic roadmap on maybe your first year of painting. The right mindset, being curious, playful, having fun, starting with a good reference, starting with a tracing if you're not a good drawer. Developing your drawing skills will happen as you paint, but if you just draw and don't practice painting, you won't practice your painting skills. But as that line drawing gets covered up, you will need to rely on your drawing skills, and they will still develop as your painting unfolds. So it's not cheating, I promise. So in one of my last videos, I was talking about how my art was transformed by getting back to the basics, painting beginner tutorials. So I want to explain and show you a little bit more in depth exactly what I mean, because it really was a fun turning point in my art journey. And I started this new project where I wanted to create a lot more beginner-friendly tutorials. So I kind of went into the project a little bit lethargic. Let's just say that. I just thought it would be boring, and I was going to paint really simply and make it really accessible to my watercolor viewers, which isn't boring. I really want to make watercolor easy for beginners. It doesn't have to be hard, but I want to demonstrate that by creating some more beginner-friendly tutorials. So I've really been focusing on doing that in my online school. And I really did not expect to learn what I learned. And I didn't expect for my art to be affected, my style to be affected as much as it was from the refresher that I received from painting in a new way for me. My paintings often get heavier than I want them to. For example, I'll show you one that I'm talking about. Now, I do like this painting, but this was painted before I did several beginner tutorials. I created beginner watercolor tutorials for my students. And in those tutorials, I painted in a way that was a lot more delicate and easier to control, meaning I painted with more watery paint, let it dry. Paint another layer with watery paint, let it dry. This is wet on dry technique in several layers, letting each layer dry completely in between. And the first tutorial that I did was of Diana. And I loved how that painting came out. And I just really didn't think that it would come out that delicate. And then I painted another one that I loved even more, Beginner Fox. So if you are on my online school and you haven't done these tutorials, I highly recommend them, because this Beginner Fox came out so dreamy. I loved it. And so this new approach to painting really surprised me how it changed my art, and it did. So after I painted several of those, I painted a new turtle tutorial that I probably should stop calling these beginner tutorials, but they are created with slightly simpler techniques. This one has a bit of a fun wet and wet gradient in the beginning for an underpainting. It was painted in this delicate style, and it just has that watercolor glow when I painted this way as opposed to this. Now, this is a perfectly fine painting, but I love how this one glows with transparency. And for those of you who don't know there's a whole world of transparent watercolor. There is a transparent watercolor society that is considered in serious watercolor circles the creme de la creme of the watercolor competitions to get into. It's really hard to get into, and it's for transparent watercolor only. So transparent watercolor is painted with delicate glazes. You can see the layers underneath glow up through each other. It's almost like painting with saran wrap. So it has this certain beautiful watercolor glow that you can't get with any other medium. And I was very excited to see my work kind of go in that transparent direction after I got back to basics and had these aha moments where I thought this was just going to be simple and I wasn't going to get much out of it. I got so much out of it. So again, to those of you who are on my online school, I highly recommend that you go do those tutorials, even if you're not interested in painting a cat or a fox. Use plenty of water and get the layers really nice and light, and let them dry in between, and you build up your values by doing successive layers of delicate washes that dry in between. And you get these glowing, transparent looks. I love the surprises that I'm getting along the way because I'm on this journey teaching and learning with you guys. All right, so back to lessons and breakthroughs. I had a breakthrough in this painting that I did as a tutorial, and I had a breakthrough on how to paint black areas that glow using transparent washes. And I would not have had these aha moments and these subsequent breakthroughs if it wouldn't have been for those beginner tutorials that I started with. So I highly recommend doing my beginner tutorials and getting back to basics at least once in a while. And I'm doing this whole series. I have a 3-part series that I start out with my favorite supplies. And then in part 2, I talk about fixing techniques and also how to get your values accurate. I talk about why values are way more important to worry about than color. And then in part 3, I put it all together, how a painting comes together. All about the ugly stage, all about how to get your painting out of the ugly stage, how to go from big shapes to small shapes and all that. So all that will be in part 3 of this series. Thank you so much for joining me for this tutorial. I hope you got a lot out of it. And I will put a binge list of other aha moment type videos. I promise you they will give you aha moments. They gave me aha moments, some of the information in these videos. And I work hard. I pour my heart and soul into my videos to really give you so many aha, wonderful moments like I've had. It's my favorite thing I think about being on this art journey. So be sure to check those out. Be sure to check my description for all kinds of free goodies. I've got free tutorials that you can try a sample of one of my tutorials. I've got links to my supplies in the description and so much more. Now I'm going to let Rachel from a couple months ago, in a really cute dress, by the way, to explain some of my paid offerings. Here we go. For those of you who are interested in knowing more about my paid tutorials, I'll tell you about my Patreon. What Patreon was designed to do by Patreon's founders was to give artists a place where they could get the support they need financially so they could do what they love to do. Especially in today's world of AI, I used to make most of my money on Etsy selling prints and art, but now Etsy and Facebook is deluged by artificial intelligence art that looks real. It's really convincing. So that means a lot less prints sell now. A lot less originals sell now because there's so much more competition online these days, and it's getting harder and harder for an online artist, at least, to make a living. So Patreon, the founders of Patreon saw that trend happening to artists and wanted them to have something where their members, their followers, fans, what I don't feel comfortable calling my followers fans, it's my members, my not even students, because I learn from my students, but it's a place where you can financially support me. But as most Patreon content providers do, you get something back for your money, which is tutorials. You get access, in fact, to a library of almost 200 real-time, start-to-finish tutorials. Many of them are super in-depth, like what I explained with my sailboats, with extra demonstrations. They're at the level of a course, but for just a low $9 or $13 a month, you get access to almost 200. If you join for a year, you get 2 months free. You pay for 10 months and you get 2 months free. And you can send me through email a painting of yours and get a critique. And so if you join at the $30 tier, you get even more critiques. If you join at the $9 tier, you get like a little less critiques. So it just depends on your tier, and you just read through the different options and you'll see. But I would love for you to join a paid tier on my Patreon at patreon.com/RachelStudio. But at the very least, be sure to join as a free member so you just stay in touch with me. It's almost like being on my mailing list. I send out several emails a week of tips and what I'm painting and what I'm working on, what I'm excited about, what shows I'm entering and what you could enter if you're interested. Just fun art news, and we have a lot of fun. So I hope you'll join me there. But if not, at least be sure to join for free and join my Facebook group for free. And I hope to see a lot more of you online. Leave me a comment. Go binge a bunch of my other videos. I will leave a list of highly binge-worthy videos in the comments, and links to my supplies can be found at rachelstudio.com/supply list. And I also have some of my supplies in the description, along with tons of free tutorials, free things. Look through my description, look through my Patreon. It's like a watercolor playground. All right, this series has been so fun. Thank you so much for joining me for this series. And I hope you got as much out of it as I do when I revisit the basics. And if you're a super beginner, welcome to the exciting world of watercolor. And it's such an exciting medium, and it's so versatile, and you can get so many different styles from just changing your paper or changing how you use the watercolor paint. It's really amazing. I don't think there's any better medium for getting really dreamy, dramatic effects. But if you want super hard-edged, super realistic outcomes, you can do that with watercolor too. It's a great medium. So welcome to watercolor if you're new to watercolor. And if you're not, I hope you get a lot out of this. And leave me a comment below how getting back to basics has helped you as an artist. All right, thank you so much for joining me, and stay tuned because I have a new video almost every week, usually every week. So I have a lot of good stuff coming out. I've been doing a lot of fun things with my postcard project and my free members. Lots of new beginner tutorials coming out. How to paint a poodle is coming. There's so much. But until then, go watercolor your world. Bye, everybody. And as Gandhi said, I never lose. I either win or I learn. And that is a very good way to look at your whole painting journey. You're never going to lose. Even if you create an ugly painting, in fact, you will learn more from ugly paintings. But anyway, I am totally getting off topic. I'm sorry. I just get excited.